Some girls are not who they claim to be. Behind bright smiles and soft voices can hide dangerous secrets. In this Lagos folktale, we follow the story of Esther, the girl everyone thought was perfect, until curiosity opened a door she could never close again. Esther was the girl everyone in church admired. At just 19, she was known for her calm spirit, bright smile, and angelic voice. Every Sunday, she led worship, and many cried when she sang. She was the daughter of Pastor Daniel, and people saw her as the perfect Christian girl. She always wore modest clothes, obeyed the church rules, and never missed morning devotions and going out for evangelism to bring more souls to Christ. To outsiders, Esther had a flawless life, but inside, she was tired. Tired of the pressure, tired of pretending to be someone she wasn't. The world outside looked free, fun, and exciting. And Esther was curious. Esther had lived her life like a bird in a cage, always careful of her words and actions, always trying to appear as holy as the Virgin Mary, Mother of Christ. She was the pastor's daughter after all, and should be a good example to others, but she felt trapped. From home to school, school to church, and back home again, that was her life. A triangle that never broke, always rigid, and never gained room for any flexibility. When it was time for her to go to the university, Esther was happy, but her happiness was cut short when she found out her father had enrolled her in the Church Christian University, known as Rock of Faith University. As if that's not enough, she was told she would be going from home to school every day. This made Esther sad. She always thought she could use the opportunity of going to university to get away from her parents' rigidity. At school, she heard the other girls whisper about wild parties, expensive clubs, and rich men who gave them gifts. They wore fancy clothes, makeup, and lived like queens. Esther just listened. She never joined their talks, but something inside her began to wonder. Then came Lisa. Lisa was nothing like the girls Esther knew. She was bold, beautiful, and always had the latest phone, bag, and perfume. One afternoon, Lisa sat beside Esther in the school cafeteria. "You're always quiet, church girl," Lisa said with a playful smile. Esther nodded. "I just don't talk much." Lisa leaned closer, voice soft. "But you listen, and I know you're curious." Esther froze. Lisa smiled. "Don't worry. I'm not here to change you. I just think you'd be dangerous if you ever stopped pretending. Here's my phone number," Lisa said, as she wrote her phone number on a notebook Esther placed on the cafeteria table. "Call me if you ever wanted to experience a taste of the free life. It will be our little secret." Esther didn't answer, but in her heart, she knew Lisa had just opened a door she might never be able to close. Lisa smiled, winked at her, and left. The first lie Esther told was small. Her father had told her to come straight home after choir practice, but instead, she followed Lisa home, telling her father she was going for a house fellowship. Just for an hour, Esther told herself, just to see. Lisa's house was nothing like Esther's. There were no Bible verses on the walls, no prayers in the air, no rules. Instead, loud music filled the rooms. Expensive perfumes scented the air. Girls laughed on velvet couches while filming TikTok videos with ring lights. Lisa tossed Esther a short, tight dress, something wild, nothing like the clothes she owned. "Try it on," Lisa smiled. "No one will know." Esther hesitated. Her fingers brushed the soft fabric. Slowly, she slipped into it. In the mirror, she didn't see the pastor's daughter anymore. Not the quiet, obedient girl. She saw someone else, someone bold, someone dangerous. That night, something inside her woke up. The next time was even easier. Her parents went to a night vigil. Her siblings were asleep. Her phone buzzed. Lisa's message, "Are you ready?" Esther changed into the dress. Her hands didn't even shake. She applied makeup just like Lisa had taught her. When she looked in the mirror, she saw a stranger, and liked it. She slipped into the taxi waiting outside. At the club, The music was loud, the lights blinding. The air smelled of sweat, perfume, and something unholy. Lisa leaned close and whispered in her ear, "Welcome to the real world, church girl." Esther smiled. She had no idea she had just walked into the most dangerous part of her life. Esther should have been scared that night. She should have gone home and never looked back, but she didn't. Instead, she craved more. She couldn't forget the way people looked at her in that short dress, the rush of excitement, the wild laughter from Lisa. It felt like the part of her that had been sleeping finally woke up. The next lie came easily. "I'm sleeping at Esther's house for Bible study," she told her father. Pastor Daniel smiled proudly. "That's my girl." A tightness grew in her chest. But then, Lisa's car horn sounded outside. The guilt vanished like smoke. This wasn't just another club night. Lisa had invited her to a secret rooftop party, high above the city lights. The rooftop sparkled like a dream. Soft couches, floating candles, champagne glasses, and girls in dresses worth more than Esther's school fees. Rich men in suits circled like kings. Esther felt powerful. Lisa nudged her toward one man. "Esther, meet David." David was older, mid-30s, calm and confident. His eyes moved slowly across her face. "You're new. If beauty were a meal, you will be my 3-course breakfast, lunch and dinner. And baby, I'm starving," he said. His voice was smooth. Esther nodded shyly. Lisa laughed. "She's special, David. Be nice." He smiled. "Oh, I will." Esther had no idea that night she was making a deal with the devil. David wasn't like the boys at school. He was a man, with money, power, and secrets. And soon he started sending her gifts. A designer bag, perfume, an iPhone. "You deserve nice things," he told her. And for the first time in her life, Esther felt wanted. At first, the gifts felt like magic. David sent Esther expensive shoes, sweet perfumes, and even cash. Every time her phone buzzed with his name, her heart raced. "You're special," he told her. "You make me feel alive." Esther blushed whenever she saw his texts. But deep inside, something started to shift. The attention, the compliments, they began to feel heavy. One night, David picked her up in a sleek black Mercedes. The leather seats were soft. The car smelled like danger. "You look beautiful," he said, brushing her hair behind her ear. Esther smiled nervously, but then his hand lingered. His touch wasn't soft anymore. It was demanding. Her breath caught. She looked away, but he gently turned her face back. "You like the gifts, don't you?" he whispered. Esther froze. She had liked the dresses, the thrill, the feeling of being someone else. But this moment, this wasn't what she expected. David's hand slid down her jaw. "Don't be shy," he said. "You know how this works." Esther's heart pounded. She was no longer the girl visiting a friend. She was now part of something deeper, something darker. She looked out the window. Should she say no? Should she run? But she didn't. She stayed. And that night, Esther made her choice. It was the wrong one. The next morning, she stared at her reflection again. She searched for the church girl in her eyes. But all she saw was a stranger. Worse, she didn't regret it. That was the first warning, and it wouldn't be the last. By the next week, everything felt different. Esther walked through school halls with her head high, her hair done, her lips tinted with gloss Lisa gave her. Some girls stared, some whispered. Esther didn't care. She was changing, and she liked it. But change has a cost. She was in class one afternoon when her phone vibrated. A message from David. "Come outside, now." Esther's stomach flipped. She quietly slipped out of the classroom, heart thudding. David's car was already parked. She opened the door and slid in. He didn't smile. His jaw was clenched, his eyes colder than usual. "You've been ignoring my calls," he said. Esther shifted in her seat. "I've been busy with school. Don't play games with me." His voice was calm, but there was a sharp edge beneath it. The air in the car grew heavy. David reached across and gripped her wrist, too tight. Esther winced. "You're hurting me." He let go slowly, then sighed and smiled like nothing had happened. "Good girls don't lie." Then he handed her a small box. Inside was a gold bracelet. Elegant, heavy, expensive. "It's a gift," he said, "to remind you who you belong to, my precious." The word belong made Esther's skin crawl. Also the way David called her my precious. It felt exactly like how Gollum, also known as Smeagol, referred to the one corrupted ring in The Lord of the Rings. But she nodded and slid it onto her wrist. From that moment, she knew the truth. She wasn't free anymore. Back in class, her best friend Peace watched her from across the room. There was something in her eyes Esther didn't like. The look of worry and suspicion. Esther tried to act normal. She smiled during assembly, raised her hand in class to answer questions, and laughed at jokes of her coursemates. But inside, she was unraveling. The bracelet on her wrist felt like a chain. At lunch, Peace sat beside her. "Esther," she said quietly, "we need to talk." Esther forced a laugh. "Talk about what?" Peace looked serious. "You're different. You disappear. You lie. And sometimes," she lowered her voice, "you smell like alcohol." Esther's fingers tightened around her fork. "I don't know what you're talking about." Peace didn't blink. "You're my best friend. I know when something's wrong." Esther looked away. "I'm fine." "Is it that man?" Peace asked gently. Esther's throat closed. She thought of David's grip, his voice, his rules. She shook her head quickly. "No, I needed money, okay?" she lied. Peace's eyes filled with sadness. "You don't need money that badly." "You don't understand," Esther snapped. "Your parents are not keeping you like a bird in a cage, or a fragile glass cup that can easily break once it's left on its own. You don't live under a microscope." Peace reached for her hand. "Then help me understand." Esther pulled her hand away. "We're done talking." She stood and walked off. Her chest was tight. Her eyes stung. She had just pushed away the one person who truly cared. But Peace wasn't finished. Later that night, a message lit up Esther's phone. "I followed you last night." Her heart stopped. Her secret life wasn't so secret anymore. The cracks were spreading, and something was about to break. Esther froze, staring at the message. "I followed you last night." She called Peace immediately. Her voice trembled. "What do you mean?" There was a long silence. Then Peace replied, "I saw you, Esther, at the club." Esther's knees weakened. "You were dressed like someone else," Peace continued, her voice breaking. "That wasn't the Esther I know." Esther's chest tightened. Why didn't you tell me?" Peace asked. "Are you in trouble? Is he hurting you?" Esther opened her mouth, but no words came. Peace's voice softened. "Is it that man? What's his name, David?" Esther's throat closed. She remembered his hands on her wrist, the fear in the car, the bracelet and the words David spoke to her. "To remind you who you belong to, my precious," but she couldn't say it out loud. "If David found out." "I'm fine," she lied. "I just needed help. Money, that's all." Peace didn't believe her. "Esther, this isn't you." "I said I'm fine," Esther snapped. Her voice echoed louder than she meant it to. She ended the call before Peace could say more. Her hands were shaking. She had lost her best friend, and maybe herself. At home, she stared at her reflection. The bracelet glinted on her wrist like a warning. Her phone buzzed again. A message from David. "Where are you, my precious? You're mine now. Don't forget that." Esther's fingers trembled. She wasn't sure who she feared more anymore, David or the girl she was becoming. Sunday morning came too fast. Esther hadn't slept. Her heart still raced from David's last message. "You're mine now, don't forget that." She rubbed concealer over the bruise on her wrist. Her hand trembled. No one must know. At church, she sat in the front row beside her family. The choir sang, the pastor preached, But Esther's mind was somewhere else. Her body was in church. Her soul was in pieces. Her mother, Mrs. Evelyn, watched her closely. After service, Esther tried to slip away. But her mother's voice stopped her. Esther? Esther turned slowly. Yes, Mom? Mrs. Evelyn frowned. Come with me to the kitchen. Esther hesitated. I have to study. Now, Esther. In the kitchen, the smell of stew and fried plantain filled the air. Esther picked up the knife to slice onions, hands shaking. Tell me the truth, her mother said suddenly. Esther stopped mid-cut. What do you mean? Her mother's voice was calm but firm. You've changed. There's a darkness around you. Esther tried to smile. Mom, it's nothing. Mrs. Evelyn reached out and gently touched her wrist. The makeup had smudged. The bruise showed faintly. What happened here? She whispered. Esther's voice was tight. I burned myself ironing. Her mother's eyes darkened. You haven't used that iron in weeks. Esther looked away. Her mother sighed. I don't know what you're doing, but be careful, Esther. The devil gives gifts with one hand and takes everything with the other. Esther's phone buzzed. A message from David. Come outside, now. She backed away from her mother, heart pounding, and just like that she left, again. Not seeing the tears forming in her mother's eyes. Esther crossed a line she swore she'd never touch. Now the lies are catching up. David is changing. Peace knows too much, and her mother is watching everything. The pastor's daughter isn't so innocent anymore. But in a world full of secrets, how do you escape when the chains feel like gold? The storm is coming, and when it hits, not everyone will survive. So ask yourself, what if this isn't even the worst part yet? Subscribe to African Folktales with Auntie for part 2, and brace yourself. The truth is just getting started.